Blackhawk helicopters over an American city. Federal agents in camouflage gear rappelling onto apartment rooftops. Families, including U.S. citizens, snatched off the streets and zip-tied. This isn't a scene from a war zone overseas. This is Chicago, Illinois. In a fiery press conference, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has declared war on the White House, accusing President Donald Trump of orchestrating an unconstitutional invasion of his state. He claims the chaos and violence are not organic, but are part of a deliberate playbook to justify a military occupation of an American city. Today, on the Capitol Report, we take you inside that explosive press conference. We'll show you the shocking accusations, the heartbreaking stories, and the video evidence the governor presented. Is this a necessary federal intervention to fight crime? Or is it, as the governor claims, a politically motivated attack on a great American city? The conflict between President Trump and the leadership of major Democratic-run cities has been escalating for months. The president has repeatedly characterized cities like Chicago as hellholes and war zones in need of federal force. In response, his administration has deployed federal agents from Customs and Border Protection (CBP) and Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) to several cities, including Chicago, under the stated mission of fighting crime. This move has been met with fierce resistance from local leaders who see it as a violation of states' rights and a dangerous overreach of federal power. Governor Pritzker of Illinois has been one of the most vocal critics, arguing that the presence of these agents is making his city less safe. His press conference represents a dramatic escalation, moving from political disagreement to the threat of a federal lawsuit, setting the stage for a major constitutional showdown. In his press conference, Governor Pritzker laid out his case against the Trump administration. He began by accusing the president of using service members as political pawns and detailed the immediate consequences for the people of Illinois.
Let me be clear. Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities. I want to thank Attorney General Kwame Raoul and his staff, along with my general counsel, Ann Spillane, and our excellent governor's office legal team for working tirelessly for weeks now to prepare federal lawsuits in anticipation of this unconstitutional invasion of Illinois by the federal government. For weeks now, Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino have brought their militarized CBP and ICE agents to the streets of Chicago to cause violence and chaos in this city. They need to stop inciting our city's residents. Since the beginning of this invasion, families have been snatched up off the streets or removed from their homes, zip-tied and detained for hours, including especially U.S. citizens and legal residents of our state. And in the words of CBP Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bovino, they're being chosen by how they look. Peaceful protesters have been hit with tear gas and shot with rubber bullets. Journalists simply reporting the facts on the ground have been targeted and arrested. U.S. citizens, including children, have been traumatized and detained.
The governor then alleged that this wasn't random chaos, but a premeditated strategy by the White House to create a pretext for military intervention.
The Trump administration is following a playbook: cause chaos, create fear and confusion, make it seem like peaceful protesters are a mob by firing gas pellets and tear gas canisters at them. Why? To create the pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act so that he can send military troops to our city. He wants to justify and normalize the presence of armed soldiers under his direct command. I want to take you through the steps that he's taken to follow the playbook and show how it is playing out real time here in Illinois. When I first heard reports of Trump's plan to send armed military troops into our streets, more than 100 elected officials, business leaders, clergy, law enforcement, educators, and community organizations gathered on August 25th to send an unequivocal message to Donald Trump. We don't want troops on the streets of Chicago. There was never an insurrection or an invasion on the ground that justified the deployment of the military to our American city. We stood out there on a beautiful day at River Point Park to make that point. Donald Trump's deranged depiction of Chicago as a hellhole, a war zone, and the worst and most dangerous city in the world was just complete BS.
He then moved from political strategy to human tragedy, highlighting the fatal shooting of a local man by an ICE agent and the inconsistencies in the administration's official story.
Less than a week later, on September 12th, ICE shot and killed a man in Franklin Park, a nearby suburb of Chicago. His name was Silverio Villegas-Gonzalez. Reports say that he had just dropped his kids off at daycare and was headed to work. Shortly after that incident, ICE issued a statement justifying the killing, saying that the federal agent was seriously injured, sustained multiple injuries, and was dragged a significant distance. Immediately, we were left with more questions than answers. And frankly, the story just didn't add up. I demanded a full accounting into the facts of the situation. The community was rightfully distraught. Even Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum demanded answers. The facts are coming out, and they are raising even more questions. The Chicago Sun-Times obtained body camera footage from Franklin Park PD. The agent said on camera his injuries were nothing major and that he was dragged a little bit. As a reminder, DHS said that the agent was seriously injured, sustained multiple injuries, and was dragged a significant distance. His children, Silverio's children, have now been left without a father, and they and the public deserve to know the truth.
Finally, the governor presented video evidence of what he called a military-style raid, arguing it was staged for propaganda.
Last week, federal agents dressed in camouflage gear conducted a military-style raid on an apartment building in South Shore, a neighborhood of Chicago. They brought Blackhawk military helicopters and more than 100 agents in full tactical gear. Even though it was supposedly a very dangerous and important mission, they brought dozens of cameras and set them up so that they could film their attack on the building in HD for social media. See for yourself. So even though they documented the raid, their propaganda video conveniently left out important facts. In the dead of night, and seemingly for the cameras, armed federal agents emerged from the Blackhawk helicopters, rappelling onto the roof of that apartment building. According to media reports, the agents ransacked multiple apartments and detained almost everyone in the building, including U.S. citizens and children who had done nothing wrong. Witnesses told reporters that federal officers zip-tied the hands of people, including children and seniors. Some, including U.S. citizens, were detained in the back of vans for hours. Seemingly proud of this shameful treatment of innocent people, they recorded it, and Kristi Noem posted the video, bragging about the operation.
Governor Pritzker has laid out a powerful and damning case against the Trump administration. Let's analyze the core arguments and their broader implications. First, the central accusation of a constitutional crisis. Pritzker isn't just disagreeing with a policy, he's accusing the president of an unconstitutional invasion of a sovereign state. This invokes a fundamental debate in American law, the balance of power between the federal government and the states. The governor is preparing a federal lawsuit, arguing that the president does not have the authority to deploy federal agents for domestic law enforcement against the will of local officials, unless there is a true insurrection. Pritzker's claim that there is no insurrection is the legal foundation of his challenge. Second, the battle over the narrative, truth versus propaganda. A key part of Pritzker's argument is that the administration is creating a false narrative. Trump calls Chicago a hellhole, but Pritzker counters with data about record-low homicide rates and record employment. This strategy culminates in the tragic story of Villegas-Gonzalez. The initial DHS report claimed the agent was seriously injured and dragged a significant distance, but body cam footage obtained by the Chicago Sun-Times allegedly shows the agent saying his injuries were nothing major and he was dragged a little bit. This discrepancy is the smoking gun in Pritzker's case that the administration is exaggerating threats to justify its actions. Third, the militarization of law enforcement. Pritzker's description of a raid involving Blackhawk helicopters and over 100 agents in full tactical gear, all while being filmed in HD for social media, is designed to shock the conscience. It raises a disturbing question: are these operations about public safety or public relations? The use of military-style tactics and equipment against American citizens in their homes is one of the most controversial topics in modern policing. Pritzker argues this is not law enforcement, it's an occupation, and one that is actively making communities less safe by traumatizing innocent people, including children and U.S. citizens. The big question to debate is the federal presence in Chicago a legitimate, if heavy-handed, response to violent crime that local leaders have failed to control, or is it a calculated political stunt by the president to create chaos, project an image of a strongman, and punish a city that opposes him politically? The standoff in Illinois is more than a feud between a Democratic governor and a Republican president. It's a test case for the limits of federal power. Governor Pritzker's Playbook theory suggests a cynical plot to normalize the use of military force on American streets. If the federal government can declare a city a war zone against the will of its elected leaders and deploy agents who operate with little transparency or accountability, what's to stop it from happening anywhere else? The events in Chicago, from the shooting of Villegas-Gonzalez to the military-style raid in South Shore, are not just headlines. They are setting a dangerous precedent. The legal battle that is about to unfold may well define the relationship between the White House and the states for a generation. What do you think? Does the president have the right to send federal agents into any city he deems dangerous, or is this a step too far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And for more in-depth reports on the power plays shaping our nation, subscribe to the Capitol Report.